Welcome, everyone. How many people here are new within the last 6 months? Two, just two, three, four. Good. Welcome. Okay, the first thing we do, because the minutes have been accepted electronically, we don't have to go through accepting the minutes. We've already done that. And the first thing we like to do is the lottery drawing for the Friday Residents Film Pick. And I've asked Ellen if she would. We have a barrel here with people's selections. You know, the residents can put in their selections for movies. So Ellen will have someone pick.
And this is for the Friday movie, the Resident's Choice, that you all have a chance to put in. The film committee has a wooden box, a ballot box in the mailroom, and there are slips of paper. You can suggest any movie and put it in there, and we get a chance. And I'm going to ask Julie, who is an avid film goer, to pull. Okay, just one, yes. Oh my goodness, we got a whole thing. Ghosts of Mississippi, Rob Reiner director, and it's on Netflix. So the
Ghosts of Mississippi.
1996. Okay.
1996 will be shown on Friday night. A Friday night. I don't know if it's this coming Friday. Okay. Thank you, Ellen. Thank you, Claire. So the next item on the agenda is the Residents' Council has, as you know, liaisons to each of the standing committees. So we, at each meeting, will get kind of a summary from the liaison about a standing committee. So today, Claire will start with giving us a synopsis of the Music Committee.
Hi, good afternoon. The Music Committee's members are Dodie Gall, who is the chair, Susan Ellis, Jean Musto, Adela Collins, Linda Burt, Elizabeth Posidenti, Leon Pantigna, Claire, and Richard Corbin. We had 12 performed concerts. 2 had to be canceled due to snowstorms, and they were the Shades of Yale Singers and Robert Blocker for piano. The classical music performances were the guitar, a trio of piano, piano and strings, and piano and violin, Wendy Sharp and her violin students, and a harpist. Other performances were True North Trio, Elm City Girls Choir, Naomi Corey Jazz Quintet, the Yale Russian Chorus, New Haven Capelli, which was the Yiddish Orchestra, and the Haven String Quartet. And the comments, most everyone thought they were lovely and they were very well received. There were some requests from the audience. One of them is that the presenter should speak very clearly into the mic because it's very hard to hear, especially in the back. And the performers, if they would talk about the pieces that they are presenting during the performance, I think that would be appreciated. And that's my report. Thank you.
Any questions on the Music Committee? I'm sure you appreciate what we do in the Music Committee. There's a lot going on. So the other standing committee to report today is Conservation and Nature, and John will report.
Good morning. Actually, good afternoon. There was a meeting of the committee, the Conservation and Nature Committee, on the 12th of March, and I have reviewed their minutes from that meeting. Among other things, they decided that it was a scheduling difficulty to have a meeting in April, so there will not be one, but they will meet again in May. There's a variety of issues that are being discussed by the Conservation and Nature Committee. At this point, they're not asking us to take any action or to, for instance, authorize anything. I just want to touch very quickly on some issues that were mostly the focus of the meeting. I'm trying to remember how much has been said before, but obviously we are in the midst of trying to explore ways to encourage energy and natural resource conservation here at Whitney Center. There was, among other things, discussion about the possibility of retaining and then using gray or brown water for various purposes such as watering the grass and flowers. That's still being explored. No action is ready at this time. Joe Blumberg talked to the committee about the issue of the Six Lakes Park that's being explored, which I hope most of you at least are generally aware of. The next immediate step is for there to be a meeting of the stakeholders, Whitney Center, nearby neighbors, and various officials from town and state. They're trying to set up a meeting with the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. That has not yet been set, though it's apparently been agreed to in general. There's some discussion about the possibility of the mayor and or the governor attending, or representatives of some of those people. There was discussion briefly about Earth Day. Flo McBride and Arnie Heiser were discussing what to present. No decision was made, but various films and such are under consideration. We already discussed the question of using water from catch basins. Fred Morrison also has been exploring, as has been discussed before, whether there are community sources for solar energy which we might buy into, because it's been determined essentially that having our own solar array is impractical for various financial and other considerations. And they are in contact with an organization called Wake Robin, a place similar to our own Whitney Center in Vermont, and they have such a program, sharing energy with another community developer. That, however, has not been entirely satisfactory to them, and they are exploring whether they want to change it in some way. We don't have an answer yet. Fred, who I thought was going to be here today, has made some further progress about getting information about that process, but he was unable to be here today, so I can't tell you anything more than that. And I believe that's all that needs to be brought up at this point. If there are any questions, I'll attempt to respond. Thank you.
That committee is very, very busy and doing a good job for us. So we'll keep you posted as things progress. Okay, on to Clothing Exchange Day update. Mike and Greg, were people aware that we had a clothing exchange day here in CAC?
Greg and I worked together on this, and Greg did more than his share and was a pleasure to work with. A number of other residents helped out because it would have been impossible if there were just the two of us. We got an enormous amount of clothing, much more than we expected. So much that the whole room 102 in Cafe on Main was filled up and you could barely get in the door. I was a little surprised. I didn't see very many residents come to pick up clothes, and I did see some of the staff, and it was interesting because the staff who did come came with large trash bags and filled those trash bags up. So not that many people on the staff came as I expected, but they took an awful lot of stuff. We had probably 3/4 of the stuff was left over, and that went both to Goodwill and also to St. Luke's Church via Lynn Hawkins. I was just amazed at how much stuff people had hidden away in their closets.
So one thing we had asked as we talked with them is, shall we do it again next year? Or should we do it every other year? It really was a lot of work, and I don't know that we publicized it enough for the staff, because the staff who came were very excited, but not a lot of staff came. So maybe we need to communicate a little better on it. But thank you for all the people who took part. Questions, comments?
I think it was a wonderful idea. I think it's worth doing again. I think there'll be much less clothing because most people got rid of most of the stuff. I like the idea that the staff found it useful, not just the residents. So I think it's a wise and not very onerous thing, and actually a generous thing to do.
I felt I didn't have the best way to communicate to the staff because they do have a website, kind of like our K4, and it was posted on that, and then it was posted in the staff lounge. But I think putting stuff in people's mailboxes like I could do with the residents was a much better way to communicate.
Other comments, questions? Good. Okay, moving on. The fire safety suggestion for the CAC is actually going on to the safety committee, but Mike, would you like to explain what you proposed?
Well, the most room by far is in the last row and the first row, which wouldn't obstruct other people. So to the extent that the last row or the first row could be reserved for people who have walkers or wheelchairs, I think that would make getting in and out of here easier and safer. The other thing is that the exits are closest to the last row and the first row, so the people who would have the most trouble getting out with the walkers would be closest to the exits. The other way you could get a little more room is simply to add another row, just take out some of the seats in the middle and add a row in the front or the back so that you widen these aisles and you just have a slightly deeper auditorium. I think that would also make it slightly safer just because the aisles in the middle would be wider.
Comments on that idea? Or any other suggestions on?
What did they say about another exit?
When I brought it to administration, they didn't think there was a need for another exit, given the back ones and the side one. But we will bring it. We will bring the suggestion to the Safety Council, which only meets 4 times a year, so we have to wait for the next one. Comments, questions? No. Okay. Your favorite topic, the north parking lot. Is Mary here? Oh, okay. So Mary gave me the figures, but if you have any questions, we can address them probably to Mary Martino. So she's kind of responsible for allocating the spots in the north parking lot. And she reports that there are 35 assigned resident spots in that north parking lot. There are 33 assigned staff spots. And I think they just recently incorporated 7 new spots around the circle in the north building for the health center. 7.
No, Judith,
Is that correct?
the 7 health center spots will be assigned once they renovate the parking lot.
I see.
And I've spoken to the residents that are going to be affected by those and going to be moving them to other spaces.
Good, thank you for the update. And I think you also said when we do it that there'll be either signs or markings on the pavement?
Yes, they're going to put them in the grass where those first spaces are. Yep.
And those signs would be for visitors and for residents, or just visitors?
Visitors
Just
to the health
visitor
center.
sign, yeah. The question is how many spaces for visitors?
There'll be 7 along facing the street of Leader Hill, and then the front circle. I don't know how many are there. I think there's about 10 in the front circle. So
Okay.
it'll be about 17.
Any questions on the assigned parking spaces in the north lot? No? Okay. All right, we move on. By the way, the Residents' Council table, I just wanted to mention that the idea for the clothing drive came from the RC table in terms of suggestions. So if you have bright ideas, please bring them to the RC table because we will act on them. So Steve and Fred were the folks that manned the table on 326. Steve? I'm sorry. You were not. Oh, okay. And Fred is not here. Who is it, Greg?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Greg.
There were 2 issues that were brought up. One is that in the pub, the staff now serve people who want to get something to eat, and at least 2 people said they don't like that at all. They'd rather serve themselves. The staff is making it too slow. And so that was one issue. The other issue was they don't like the idea of uniforms for the staff in center stage. They admit that that's because the staff doesn't like the uniforms, so maybe they're just picking up on that. I'm not sure what the issue is, but that was it. That's what expressed. There was also one person said, you know, they've done noise abatement in the bistro, but I think it's now noisier than it was. So.
We do hear that a lot, even though we have the panels in all over the place and the baffles hanging from the ceiling, but it seems like there's still quite a bit of noise in the bistro. Okay, so those comments will go to the dining committee. Do they meet this week, the dining committee? Yes, okay, tomorrow. So we'll bring those into there. I know Fred was going to give a kind of an update on the Employee Appreciation Fund.
But I will do that.
Okay, so we have a substitute.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Fred's having a medical procedure, so
He was
he's not able to be
excused.
here. The new letters will go out in May. Fred is working with a checklist that John Tully put together about all of the steps. So the first letter will go out in May, and of course there will be follow-up letters after that. This last year, we have some data from that. There was $45,000 left over, partly because some of the donations kept coming in even after the checks were given out to the employees. So people get around to things eventually. We had about half of the residents made a donation by check. The number's actually probably higher than that, but if you have 2 people living in an apartment and one gives us a check, we count it as only 1 check for the apartment, because in some apartments, both residents gave a check. So it's not clear how best to treat the data. So more than half is good. We hope to do better next year. The average donation by check was $992, and we had checks from as little as $20 up to $10,000. We also had cash donations. People would put $1 bills in the collection box on occasion, so that was a little bit helpful. We had about 11 Thrive at Home members donate, 8 family members from people in Meadow Mills. I'm sorry, 10 from Meadow Mills, and we had 8 people who made a donation as a tribute to somebody who was a resident here at Whitney Center. So we will try to do a better job on getting the list together this time. Ellen pointed out that the list we were working off of this last year had people who had died. So on the other hand, many people designate a power of attorney, so it may not be such a bad idea to send these letters anyway. But we will discuss that and hopefully make amends. And again, the issue of if there are 2 people in an apartment with different names, do we send 1 request letter or 2? I don't know how we'll resolve that. I think people are good at throwing away extra mail, so overkill is maybe a good idea. Anyway, so Fred will be in charge of the whole process. I will continue as assistant treasurer to get the deposits, make copies, and Ellen will write the thank you notes again, hopefully based on the information I provide. Yes. Suggestion is that for new members, what is this thing we're talking about? Whitney Center does not allow tipping, and so the employees don't benefit from tips except if you make a donation to this Employee Appreciation Fund. The money is collected from May through essentially November, and then they get a check shortly after Thanksgiving and in lieu of the tips. These tips are not tax deductible. As you know, when you make a tip at a restaurant, you don't claim that on your income tax as a deduction. But the checks you write for this Employee Appreciation Fund do go to the employees, and for many of them, it's very much appreciated.
Can you give us the grand total for the year, because it's very impressive?
I don't remember the number. I don't have that.
Do you know, John?
It was,
The total number for the employees fund this year, the total?
For the previous year.
Right.
I don't know.
The total, the maximum check, sorry. So for employees who worked in the whole year essentially, received in early December a check of $1,000, and then the checks became lower as the number of hours worked was for employees with fewer hours. But if you figure we have 300 and something employees, and many of them got $1,000, that means we had to have collected of the order of $300,000.
Right.
But I don't know the number.
John, it was actually around 335,000, and there were still checks coming, small checks coming in.
Could you say that a little louder?
We collected about $335,000 last year from all of you and all of the Thrive at Home members and Meadow Mills families. So that goes all together, and it's distributed by whether people are full-time employees or part-time employees, and it's based on the amount of hours that's given to us by the business department. So we tell them the full amount and they apportion it for us. And in December, we have a day where we sit outside and we ask for a lot of volunteers to come and help distribute the checks. And it's a real party because there's coffee and there's cookies and donuts and so on, and people play music and we all sit around and chat, and it's a wonderful time to see staff members who you don't normally see. And they're so appreciative and so happy to get their money at a time when, expenses are high at the end of the year. So it's a heartwarming program.
So I just wanted to add something. This is remarkable, this $330,000. This is remarkable, the $330,000, because in the past when I was doing this thing, when we got $190,000 or $200,000, we thought that was something. And at the time, the participation based on the number of apartments that contributed as opposed to the number of people, it was like 90% contributed the $200,000. So I don't know what the percentage would be if you do it by apartments as opposed to people. But I mean, this is remarkable. So I can only applaud whatever you did to do that, get that.
I second that. I think it's a very generous community that we have here, and they really appreciate the staff. When I was at a symposium, I discovered that the other nonprofits do the same thing. They do collect, but the numbers that we reported were really remarkable for the size of our facility. So congratulations to everybody. Thank you. Questions? Next is, let's see, we did that, Meadow Mills. Okay, Baxter, do you want to introduce this?
Thank you. We are a little concerned about how to represent the Meadow Mills a little more bigger. Okay, so over the past 2 months, I have visited Meadow Mills many times. My wife is now a resident there. I've been surprised that the facility is very different than ours here on the main campus. Yet the residents of Meadow Mill are Whitney Center residents, just as are you and I. The differences in both the services we receive and the quality of life that we enjoy here on the main campus as compared to those at Meadow Mill are significant. Because the Meadow Mill residents have no formal advocacy path, there are substantial inequities that must be redressed. After several meetings with the administration and the staff at both facilities, we have agreed to assign a person from the dining consultant company, SDS, to Meadow Mills to observe and to improve the dining experience there. Also, the two management teams here in Meadow Mills will work with their respective staffs to implement ways to improve the Meadow Mills residents' quality of life. Importantly, this resident council has agreed to, as a team, to assist in these efforts. As a start, the resident council will advocate that the Whitney Center Sunday concert series is videoed and streamed to Meadow Mills so that this wonderful music can be heard and seen by the Meadow Mills residents. Meanwhile, I encourage you to visit Meadow Mills and to sit in on a meal or an activity. It will not be uncomfortable, yet it will be informative. The management there is welcoming, and your presence will be appreciated by all the staff and the residents. Just walk in, say, hello, I'm a resident from across the street and I'd like to visit. Then go to the activity room and join in whatever is going on there, or go to the dining area and sit down. They'll give you a free meal. This experience could be your good deed for today. These people need our attention. Thank you.
Comments or questions on that? So we have decided, as a residents' council, to make that our primary goal for the year. That is a better integration of Meadow Mills into the larger community. And in that vein, we're going to be introducing educational classes or seminars or whatever you want to call them by Live Well, which is an organization in Connecticut that affiliates with Yale for people with dementia. So we'll do some education for the general public on dementia so we can understand it more. We may all be kind of headed in that direction and want to know more.
Judith, I have a question.
Yes.
Is the Residents Council thinking of having a liaison to Meadow Mills like you have for other standing committees?
That's a good question. So the family council is what is there as a kind of advocate group for Meadow Mills. And Nick has asked that I sit in on the family council meeting, which is, they meet 4 times a year. And so that will serve, because the community itself, it would be the families that would be the liaison. So the family council is already formed. And so they're going to act through our residents' council as the advocate for Meadow Mills. Does that answer your question?
It's confusing. Is it you who's going to be the liaison, or you're talking about other family members who will happen to be independent living in Whitney Center is expected to be the liaison?
Hal, I didn't exactly understand the question, but the liaison will be chosen from people who are in the Family Council, which is the organization that represents Meadow Mills, and it's represented by family members and some staff over there. So we're going to choose them at the next Family Council meeting. Going to ask them to give us a representative who will act as a liaison to come back to the resident council here, where we're very interested in what new information is coming from Meadow Mills, what improvements are being made, what issues there are. So this liaison is a very important function that we need as some way to find out what's going on over there.
Right, but why wouldn't it be a member of the residence council as a liaison, as you do for all the other committees? I mean, that seems to wouldn't that make more sense? That's a direct person who's on the residence council already.
Absolutely. And I think that's why Nick asked me to sit in on the first one until we formulate how to go about representing them well in terms of a liaison. Maybe we'll take turns on the residence council in terms of their meetings. That's one possibility. But it's all very new, and we'll work out some of those things during our first meeting, which is coming up. Thank you for the question. Other questions? Over here. No. General things. Okay. You know, we really want to work on, Meadow Mills is really like a stepsister to us right now, and we really want to integrate it into our larger community. And it's certainly in our best interest to do that and to have the Meadow Mills be an attractive place so that we can fill the beds. And it's a very large revenue stream for Whitney Center as an organization. So we have to really pay attention to it. Okay, moving on. New service in the Cafe on Main next. Steve?
There are two things about the cafe. One is the new service, which you have heard about, but let me remind you, it's a books on tape situation, books provided by the state library system, and there's a demonstration unit in 103 in the cafeteria. That's the small room back beyond the puzzle table. The directions on how to use the machine are very clear. They're written in large print. And the only thing that needs to be added yet to go beyond trying the demonstration tape, if you want to get a book to help you in place of reading the book, is for Ron Braun to put his number, make his number available so you can contact him to actually order the book. Any questions about that? Deanie?
I think we need to make it clear these are for sight-impaired people.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not just any book, because the book is wonderful to listen to either on your phone or whatever, but these are specifically for sight-impaired people.
Specifically for people who have a little trouble seeing.
And the
Yes,
library
and
is-
reading in that way.
And the library is not a regular, it's part of the national system of libraries.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
As
And
well
it's-
as Connecticut.
And it's completely free.
It's free, yes. Yeah. How many of you think you might be interested in using that? Maybe you need to know more about it. You can go into 103, the cafeteria on Main, and have a look if you're interested. The other thing about the cafe is that we, as you know, it's run by volunteers. And the need for volunteers is continuous. And if you would like to volunteer for a period of a month or two for 10 or 15 minutes at a time, not more than that usually, each day. If you would approach me after the meeting, I'd be glad to talk with you.
Okay. Doesn't look like there's any questions right now about that. All right. Baxter, again, can you talk to us a little bit about C&T in terms of the Hear Me Too focus group? And I know we have a few members here who have participated.
So as the Resident Council Liaison for Communications and Technology, here's a summary of the recent monthly meeting. For at least a year, the committee has focused on the revision and improvement of the resident guide. Everyone of the residents here at Whitney Center know that this document is a thorough discussion of our Whitney Center activities, issues, rules, and regulation. It is important for everyone to be familiar with this document. A task force of the C&T committee has worked hard to update and to digitize this document. It is now available on K4. Please familiarize yourself with it. It's very important for all of us to know about it and how to find something on it. The C&T committee has also been active in the evaluation of a communication tool, K4. At present, this is our communication tool, K4. At present, there is work being done by the K4 company to improve this system. As you have witnessed, the improvements are not yet complete. Our IT department is working with them, with K4, to inform them where more work is needed. Alternative communication systems have been considered. For the present, however, our IT department believes it is premature to make systems changes and advises us that we will continue to work with K4 for the present until all their updates are implemented, and then we can reevaluate. Another item of communications and technology interest has been the Hear Me Too tool being developed and tested. It purports to help those with hearing impairment to hear better in noisy environments. The company has recruited several Whitney Center residents to be a focus group for this product. Because one of the tasks of the C&T committee is to know about any technology that might improve our quality of life, the Hear Me Too project is being monitored by the committee. Thank you.
Any people in the pilot here who would like to make any comments about their experience with Hear Me Too? Yes. Silvana?
Thank you, Judith. It's just to clarify that we are at the stage that we, as you said, we had 14 respondents to the questionnaire, our fellow co-residents who wish to be part of the focus group. And at the moment, we are trying to schedule with the developers of Hear Me Too the training sessions for these respondents, the 14, so that they learn how to use the system and then they can, test it. So that's where we stand right now. The training sessions are probably going to be at the beginning of May.
Okay. Sam?
Going back to the resident guide, I find reading it on my iPhone is a little tough. And I wonder, can one get K4 on their computer? And if so, can somebody afterwards tell me how to do it?
The K4
Meryl?
is the
Meryl?
main, Meryl.
Meryl's got, let
Meryl
Meryl
Menon
respond.
Can answer that. She's been on the task force.
She's our expert.
I'm very glad, Sam, that you brought that up. It definitely is easier to read on a computer, and K4 is accessible on computers and iPads, and we have been encouraging, the Resident Guide Task Force encourages people strongly to access it there. I think you have to ask IT, though, put in a work order maybe to get Is anybody here from IT? I'm pretty sure that if you put in a work order, you can get it on your computer.
That is true. I had that done. Okay, anything more on the directory or, oh, there, Ron?
My question, of course, is I can't read K4. So what about those of us with low vision? Some people don't want to come forward, and you know, it can be embarrassing, just like low hearing.
Okay.
It was brought to the head of nursing a while ago, and there is no one simple answer. We realize this, but I ask all of you in the room to maybe give some thought as to how we can get to those folks with low vision.
I just wanted to point out that for those who are not familiar with it, to get to looking at the resident guide on K4, on the left column where it says library, you go down to where it says resources, and then there's a list of various other specific applications, and that's where you'll see resident guide. If you have, I don't know if it's possible on a desktop, but if you have an iPad, you can enlarge the font when you get to the section of the resident guide that you want to actually read.
Thank you. Meryl?
I'm delighted that the topic of resident guide is coming up. Thank you, Elaine, for those directions. I find it easier to go to shortcuts, and it's one of the shortcuts. You just click on resident guide, and there you are. And yes, I agree that one of the purposes to look at it on a computer or an iPad is you can enlarge the font, and hopefully it will help people with low vision. So, these directions have been put in every person's box, along with pages of the table of contents and the preface. So any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or any other member of the task force.
Any other questions on K4 while we're at it? More?
Okay, without overkilling things, I just wanted to point out that making things larger, while it's appreciated, covers some of the folks here. But there are a number of others that, no matter how large you make it, cannot read it. So again, give some thought as to how we might be able to get some help for those folks.
Deanie?
I would suggest you ask your liaison to help you, which is one.
Put the liaisons to work again. Good recommendation. Okay, if we're finished with that, the last item here, before we get, we open up the meeting, is the leave of absence policy. Does anybody not know what the leave of absence policy is? Okay, I thought so. That's what the liaisons are telling us. The leave of absence is really for the protection of all of the people here in case of emergency. And that is, if you're leaving the facility for an overnight, you have to fill out slips that you get from either the north desk or the south desk, telling us how long you're going to be gone and whether housekeeping can. It's a couple of questions on there. But they depend on that in terms of knowing who's in the building in case of an emergency. And they were going to do, I don't know if they're still going to do, the liaisons, a survey of people, because I think it's not well publicized that people have to fill those things out when they leave. And one recommendation that came from the Residents' Council is maybe we should be able to do it electronically when we know that we're going to be gone. And the summer is coming, so I know there are a lot of people who will be gone. And, you know, it depends, it's important also in terms of your finances if you're gone for any length of time so that you can get credit for your meals or whatever they give you credit for. I don't know the details. Mary knows. So, questions on that? I think there will be a survey. Yes.
Thank you, Judith. I just want to add that Melissa very recently sent out a new circular to all of us with the new sort of one-page questionnaire about leave of absence. So, you know, but I guess, as you said, if people don't have it, you know, they can go to the South and North desk. There. No, it's not that one.
So have you started the survey yet? No. No. Okay. Questions all over the place.
I've always filled that out, but I had no idea it was called leave of absence, so I'm not sure people know what you're talking about.
I'm sorry, I don't recall getting anything
Leave
like
of
that.
absence is a misnomer. It's a travel form, yeah, travel memo. That's what it's always been called. And anyway, it's not a leave of absence officially.
So the liaisons should take note of that when they do their survey. So we'll be talking about the same thing.
Yeah, often there's no one at the desks when you want to fill out this form. So perhaps they could leave it, they could leave them on the desk where we could reach them on our own. Pardon?
Get your microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry, people couldn't hear me. I'm just asking that the leave of absence forms be available on the desks where we can get them on our own, because often the desks, there's no one behind the desks, like in the evenings when we remember at the last minute that we need one.
Okay, suggestion, yeah.
Judith, I have a suggestion on that.
Okay, and then there's one more.
Irene, and others, what Georgia and I have done is we've gotten a copy and we've made copies so that we have them in our file for travel. So if you do that, then there's always one available.
Good suggestion. Back there?
I have made copies too, but you can also pick up more. The desk will give you more than one at a time, so you can have them in your file.
Okay.
Question.
Carol.
If a person is going to be away on a regular basis, like once a week or once every 2 weeks on a particular, you know, Monday night or something, can they do one form and say every Monday night or every other Monday night I will be away?
So can the liaison answer that question? Or someone?
Hello, everybody. I'm on South Reception, if you don't know me. Unfortunately, that doesn't work for us only because we have one Excel sheet where we put in all the travel memos at once. So if we had to do that on a regular basis, that means that we would have to somehow keep track of the fact that you'll be gone every Monday, and we'd have to go in and put that in. So it's not like separated by month or anything. It's just one Excel sheet.
I just want to add to that, we are looking, we have a group together of IT, reception, the liaisons, representing how we could make this easier, and we're looking at an electronic version of that so that it'll be easier.
Sounds like a good idea.
I have a question. Do you care if we're away every Monday night? Or are you just looking for multiple days away? Yeah. Oh, of course. I mean, like, did you stop the newspaper? Or did you stop the mail? But again, if it's only an evening a week, and even if every week, Is that something you care about, or do you just want to see multiple days of absence?
The reason behind this, Greg, is not to be big brother, know where you are. It's knowing who's in the building at that given time in case there is an emergency. We know who's here and who's not.
And oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Denny?
Okay, in case you all want to know, what I do is I have filled out one, I update it every now and then I leave out the dates that I'll be gone. And I just copy that and fill in the date. It's really easy.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify because people are talking about being absent one evening. It's not an evening. The way we were told when we moved here is any absences that involve overnight away from Whitney Center. And it can be a 24-hour, it can be, I don't know, 36, 72, but it has to involve an overnight. And I think the reason for that is, as Mary said, they want to know who's in the building. And early morning, you know, the nurses check all signs for all apartments to make sure that there is movement in the apartment. And if somebody goes overnight away, does not inform Whitney Center, and they don't see movement in that apartment, you know, it's, you know, exactly, yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm was going to say what you just said, Silvana, that the important thing is not evacuating us in error from the building somehow in an emergency. The important thing is if no one is moving around in your apartment, the nurses will come and check. In fact, one time when I signed out, I came home to a very annoyed telephone call because the communication between that paper that's handed in and the nurses is not as it should be, but that was a long time ago. The point is, it's a safety thing. They want to know if you're collapsed on the floor and can't get up.
They also wanted to know if it extends beyond what you put in the sheet, that you call in to the desk and let them know that it's going to be extended beyond. Okay. One more? Okay. Chris.
So I thought the checking was now electronic. I don't believe the nurses are doing that any longer. Isn't that correct?
The nurses get the report of what apartments they do need to double check. They don't have to go door to door any longer. Yes. Yep.
That sounds much more efficient. Okay, any more on that? If not, we'll move on. Okay, the other items, the library committee, Arnie wanted to make an announcement. Is he here? Please do. Let's see if this is on. Yes, it's on.
I'm Arnie Heiser, who some of you may know, and I'm the co-chair of the library committee. And the library here has been available for a long time. I can't tell you when the library started, but it's in the North Building, and it probably was an integral part of the North Building. The library committee members are the librarians. We are the librarians. We cheerfully undertake the daily task of noting who is borrowing our books and shelving them when they are returned. The committee has noticed over the last dozen years or so that more and more people are using electronic devices for reading, like Kindles and tablets, laptops, desktops, for reading their books and magazines. And very few less people are actually using the library to take out books. at the moment. In addition, the library for the past many years have been acquiring large print books for those of us who may be somewhat visually impaired. Bookshelves for these large print books are now full. In order to make more space available for upcoming large print books, we will be disposing of most of our paperback books, CDs, and Audible books. Only the videos collected by the Conservation Nature Committee will be kept, and they are, at the moment, on a shelf behind the librarian desk, and they can be borrowed just like you would borrow a book. Check them out and return them in the proper time. The materials that we are going to be disposing will now be available before we throw them away to anybody here who wants it. You are welcome to come to the library, go to the CDs, pull out CDs you want, take them back to your room, and don't bring them back to us. We have in the library something which we call the giveaway table. It's actually a cart sitting right near the door by the new book sections. And if any of you, besides if you want to return anything of your own, you can return these things there, or you can find a way to dispose of them without us having to come after you. And one final thing. You know that we occasionally, a couple of times a year, purchase new material, new books. We are not purchasing any new CDs or Audible books. We are not purchasing any magazines. All the magazines in the library are donated by various residents that are here and other people. And it's the same thing. If you have a magazine that you don't want and you don't want to use recycling, just put it on the giveaway table and it'll be disposed of eventually. And again, we urge all of you, if you want to suggest new books, just come to the committee members or write it down in our little tiny suggestion box on the desk, and we will add that to our list of things that we might be able to obtain. Thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you for the information. Very good. Okay, one more item and then we'll close. Carol wanted to talk about the Six Lakes cleanup. Is Carol here? Oh, right here.
Just very briefly, you know, in the past, we've had some cleanup projects here. And this year, Six Lakes is doing a perimeter cleanup. And it was suggested by Rebecca that in addition to having the regular meeting spot that they did for that, which is up at the Putnam Plaza, that we also have a location here. So on April the 26th, which is a Sunday, from 12 to 2, the Six Lakes Park Coalition is going to be coming here and setting up out in front of the South Building with trash bags, gloves, reacher grabbers, and also a form that they want people to fill out indicating what kinds of trash they're picking up and the quantity, because then they report that and they report it statewide because they have cleanups going on all over the state for Earth Week. So please turn out and grab a trash bag, and we usually suggest that people work in a group of 2 or 3 to pick up trash, fill it in the bags, and then they'll be returned to the Leader Hill at the service entrance outside there, and the town will pick it up. So please feel free to come out. We'd love to see a group of you coming out and helping to clean up the street between Putnam and Treadwell along Leader Hill. And a part of that is at Six Lakes, but of course the most of it is, and actually we've posted a notice, or Ken is posting a notice, or giving a notice to ACES, so they will be aware of it also, because there is cleanup that could go on in the back there that people can walk behind there to help clean up also. So please, if you have any questions, let me know.
Carol, what time is the cleanup? What hours?
It's 12 to 2 on Sunday, the 26th. And there's a flyer on the 2 bulletin boards near the mailroom.
Thank you. Okay, are there any other items before we close that people want to raise? Oh, boy. Microphones.
I would like to report to the council that having set a record for stair climb for the second time, I'm not interested in any more stair climbing up. I think it's imperative that we voice our displeasure again and again about the elevators in the south building. And the response will be, as we've had it before, the vendor promises to take care of it as soon as possible, but the difficulties lie in the availability of parts. So it has become, what will happen has happened, and do we need a protocol in terms of what to do? Because this last time, there must have been over a dozen people milling and thronging by the south desk for several hours until the elevator was available. And it's potentially a significant hazard.
Absolutely.
I had the same concern as Gus. This has been going on for years, and I do not understand why it is never resolved. This pattern is repeated over and over and over again, and I think it is up to the resident council to get to the administration and say this is totally unsatisfactory. We
And I
have
would
2
like-
elevators for the entire south building, and we were with 1 elevator for over a week. And this goes on and on and on. And I think it's irresponsible on the part of the administration to let this situation continue.
And I would like to add to that, both elevators got repaired in one night when they were both out. So how did that happen if they need to wait for parts?
I think it's an issue that I'll raise with my early report on the town meeting so that we can get some response from administration on that.
I have a microphone. Thank you. I wanted to relate an experience that I had recently and ask you what you think you might have done. I was on my computer, and this thing popped up with a Microsoft logo and all sorts of official documentation saying that my computer was under danger, and call this number. What would you do? Okay. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew. Okay, shut down your computer is the thing to do. Just put your finger on the close and leave it there for 10 or 15 seconds before opening it up. Okay, I just wanted to make
Thank
sure
you.
people knew.
One more.
So I would like to.
Just a minute. Wait. We've got one
Yes.
more in front of
Hi. Hi. My name is Judith Horn, and this is my husband, Larry. And we just moved to Whitney Center 3 days ago. And thank you. Okay, we had a long wait, but we have our apartment now. So one of the reasons that what I want to ask about is that I have a diagnosis of Alzheimer's, which I've had for a while. And I understand that there is a support group here for people who are relatives of those who have Alzheimer's. I would like to propose that a group form of people like me who are living here at Whitney Center and have Alzheimer's. I was diagnosed a couple of years ago, and so far I'm coping pretty well with it. But it would be, I'd love to get together. And so I know that there are others who are living here at Whitney Center who have Alzheimer's. And so I would like to meet. Do you know someone here who? Oh, no?
Who is your liaison?
Debbie.
Debbie, okay.
Yeah.
I would love to have you work with Debbie to put that in writing to the Residents' Council so that we can act on it.
Yeah, so does that sound like a good idea? I mean, I think.
I think it's very much needed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. One more.
So I have brought this subject up before, and I want to bring it up again. If you may have noticed that the last printed copy of the residents' phone directory was September of 2025, which means that when we used to have updates every 6 months, now the update will be only once a year. And at a time when we're talking about communication with one another and with other parts of this building, this is another issue that is in default. And if we can't get one every 6 months, then we at least need to know about another part which has not been updated in a number of years. And that is the people who are the staff, the paid staff. I have seen all kinds of people going around here. I don't know where they belong. I don't know what they do. And I think this is really a lack of communication, that all of us should have a copy of the people who are on the staff here. And we have heard people tell us, well, go look on the bulletin board. When you're at the bulletin board, you can maybe find one or two things about maybe one or two people. But if you have paper, that is important. And some people say, well, it's not up to date. Well, for many years in this building, we've had the staff and we've had the residents and lately people at Meadow Mills. But I think this is an important issue, and I think it needs to be addressed. Lynn Hawkins has been doing this on her own, which is really a staff job, I think. But she has taken it on her own, and she's been doing it now. She'll be doing it once a year.
Carol?
So
Mary?
I have a suggestion, and it's something that I do myself. I take a photograph of and most of us are carrying smartphones. So for those who need to, want to know who's new, in fact, it's kind of how I update to the directory, I take a picture of the pictures on the bulletin board across from the mailbox, and that updates, I can print it from my phone if I want to. The reason there's a print directory at all is because K4 was going to be the be-all and end-all of information. And I can only say that staff is on K4. Not all of the staff, but that's never been. And before the South Building was built, the directory came out once a year. So that's it.
Okay, so it comes out once a year and we're asking for every 6 months? Is that?
Right.
Pardon?
A number of people are not able to take pictures of things that are on the wall. I think sometimes things in this building are determined by those who can hear, can see, that their fingers are not getting thicker, that their memories are not as good. And for those people, and maybe like me eventually, that we need to have a paper copy. And not everybody should get it, only those that need it.
Okay, thank you for the recommendation. Okay, if there's no more, I think we should probably wrap up, given that we're running a little late. So can I have a motion to adjourn? Second? Okay, we're adjourned.